Mr. Doss, go ahead.
Okay. As to the motion to vacate the order enforcing the judgment, there's a couple of issues. One would come about for the fraud on the court that was done by Mr. Rowe when he induced me into a second mediation conference after intentionally or deliberately omitting the fact that he was there, not for the issue of the Tuckers, but for the issue of trying to resolve matters that involve State Farm Insurance Company, the Department of Veterans Affairs, or the United States government, Dr. John Shim himself, and also Shim Spine, guys, the Shim Spine, whatever it is, LLC or whoever they may be, and I don't know, say State Farm as well. That in and of itself becomes extrinsic of fraud. Furthermore, the court issued
Well,
a
he does represent State Farm. I mean,
okay, but
that's the party that had the responsibility for defending the Tuckers, right?
I
So
understand that,
that's
but I didn't sue State Farm. I sued the Tuckers, and I understand that the State Farm assumes the liabilities of the Tuckers because the Tuckers pay their premium, and because they pay their premium, State Farm is obligated to represent them up to the limits of their liability coverage. I understand that part. So if we want to say we want to exclude the State Farm aspect, it's fine. However, when we went to the mediation conference, it was under the auspice of me addressing solely the incident that happened on January 16, 2017, which State Farm accepted liability for. And when we went to, and so that liability is not the issue. Uh, there are several other issues within the court, to include Michael Rowe's deliberate omission of the fact that Dr. John Shim, who he intentionally solicited, and his firm has a history of soliciting to perform compulsory medical examinations on behalf of State Farm, was also a United States government employee who worked at the Department of Veterans Affairs. Now, Title 18 United States Code Section 208 expressly states that a financial conflict of interest is a criminal act. I don't think we need to go into the weeds of that one right there, which is part of the substantive reason as to why I'm going to keep moving until either I get a United States attorney or somebody with the Department of Justice, either put him or Dr. Shim in cuffs for what they've done. Plus, Dr. Shim saw me at the VA after the compulsory medical examination without, and this is an ethical violation for a doctor as well, without disclosing to me when he saw me at the CME that he was a VA attorney. So, and I'm giving you some foundation. So we move forward. I file a motion. I file a subpoena Dr. Shim to come to a deposition. Michael Rowe, who does, well, Austin Rowe in basketball, ARB, I'll just state for short. ARB does not represent Dr. Shim. However, ARB submitted an intentionally misleading motion for a protective order for somebody that they do not represent. And within that, the misleading representation, they stated that I failed to properly serve Dr. Shim with his subpoena ducis tecum, when in fact I did. And in fact, the clerk's record will show where Dr. Shim was served by private process. Nevertheless, with that being stated, and without notice, Dr. Shim doesn't show up for the deposition. We come into court. ARB